Welcome to Hero Villains. Thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. Who do you think will win in the battle between Anti-Monitor and the Spectre? The Anti-Monitor is one of the most powerful entities in the DC universe, famous for his ability to destroy and swallow entire parallel universes. He possesses near-limitless power, controls matter and antimatter energy on a cosmic scale, and can reshape reality at will. In Crisis on Infinite Earths, he has destroyed countless worlds and fought against both the League of Superheroes and cosmic entities, proving himself to be the ultimate threat to the multiverse. The Spectre is the embodiment of the wrath and judgment of the Supreme Being. The Spectre's power transcends all physical concepts, allowing him to alter reality, transcend time and space, and enforce justice on any level, from an individual to the entire multiverse. In his omnipotent state, Spectre is virtually invincible, limited only by the will and command of the Supreme Being. Before we dive into the analysis, please click the subscribe button, please remember to turn on notifications, and click the bell icon. Thank you very much. The Anti-Monitor is considered one of the most terrifying and brutal beings in the history of the multiverse. He is a force that exists beyond all limits that most other heroes or villains cannot reach. Every step he takes seems to weigh down the fabric of space. Every movement can shake the entire reality. His senses are pushed to the absolute level, allowing him to perceive and track even the smallest fluctuations at cosmic distances. He can manipulate antimatter, bend and reshape reality at will. His immortality and invulnerability make any attempt to destroy him meaningless. The Anti-Monitor possesses the power to manipulate dimensions, travel through countless dimensions and timelines, and has a genius-level intellect that far surpasses any mortal mind. He can absorb the entire energy of a universe, transforming it into his own power, and create or control massive energy constructs. The Anti-Monitor in this stage is the most powerful and terrifying incarnation he has ever achieved. He previously fought the Monitor in a drawn-out battle, and he also resisted the possession of Deadman, defeating a pre-Crisis Superman, a warrior known for his cosmic powers, suggesting that the Anti-Monitor has at least reached the level of galaxy-destroying. During the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, he entered his ultimate power form, absorbing the entire multiverse and leaving only 5 universes in existence. Having devoured his own universe, the antimatter universe, the Anti-Monitor was able to confront and stop a Spectre enhanced by powerful wizards, including Dr. Fate. He also withstood and successfully repelled a series of attacks from the Guardians of the Universe, the Green Lantern Corps, and the Justice League. The climax came when the Anti-Monitor stopped the massive explosion of Warworld, an energy source powerful enough to destroy an entire galaxy. The Anti-Monitor once recharged the Black Lantern army, fueling a force of death that spread chaos throughout the universe. Perpetua then gave him the chance to return to the height of his power, restoring his original strength. With his hatred for Darkseid still smoldering, the Anti-Monitor began to devour universes in preparation for revenge. In his hands at that time, he also had the anti-life equation, an absolute weapon to impose his will on all of reality. When Darkseid was enhanced to the limit, the Anti-Monitor was still strong enough to stop him, and the battle between them exploded to the point that even the Justice League was powerless against the scale of destruction. He also manipulated the Black Racer, the embodiment of death, to hunt Darkseid. Not stopping there, the Anti-Monitor continued to confront Lex Luthor in the new Darkseid form, a being who had merged genius intelligence and cosmic power. The Anti-Monitor version from the 6th dimension was his absolute power. This is the highest and final realm of existence in the multiverse. Mr. MXYZPTLK has confirmed that the portal to this realm is only open to the 4 ultimate entities of the multiverse, affirming the position of the Anti-Monitor, but also showing that he and his allies are above the forces that were considered invincible. MXIZPTLK admits that the events in the 6th dimension are even beyond his understanding. In the 6th dimension, the Anti-Monitor and his accomplices are much larger than the multiverse. This Anti-Monitor is certainly the most powerful ever, as he can remotely control and monitor the entire multiverse with his 2 brothers, and can even create another multiverse in the event that the current reality is broken, in addition to seeing all possible futures. Furthermore, he and his 2 brothers are only behind their mother, Perpetua, in the hierarchy of the main multiverse. What the Anti-Monitor did was similar to the Living Tribunal being forbidden from destroying the multiverse, but then using proxies he created to destabilize the system that had restrained him until he could break the system and end it forever. The Anti-Monitor's body, in its weakest state, was used by Necron to resurrect all the dead across the universe and bring about the Blackest Night, a being that could bring death everywhere and to everything. Even Metron only dared to show his face to the Anti-Monitor, because he always used the chair created by Mobius himself and infused with the Anti-Monitor's power. If the Anti-Monitor were free to act as he pleased, no universe or multiverse would be safe. By the time Earth 1 knew the Anti-Monitor was coming, he had already destroyed thousands of universes. Heroes and villains from many of the remaining universes devoted themselves to stopping his destruction. Even the combined might of multiple Lanterns, Kryptonians, magic users, and countless others, even the Spectre, wasn't enough. It took several attempts to weaken him and his forces. Supergirl sacrificing herself to destroy his armor, Barry Allen sacrificing himself to destroy his antimatter cannon, and finally, Superman from Earth 2 was able to hit him hard enough that they defeated him. Now, there was only one universe left, and 3 Supermen. Earth 1, Earth 2, and Original Earth, which is where Superboy Prime got his name from. They couldn't keep 3 Supermen in the same universe because they were alternate versions of each other, and bad things would happen if they all stayed. The Anti-Monitor destroyed all but 5 universes as Pariah tried to solve the biggest mystery, the origin of the universe. Pariah built an antimatter chamber and climbed inside to witness the beginning of creation. Entering without precautions created a chain reaction that ripped his universe apart in a wave of energy that the Anti-Monitor converted into antimatter annihilation. I really hope you subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot and you are the best. Thank you so much. The Spectre, also known as Aztar, was once a demon in the army of Lucifer Morningstar who attempted to seize control of heaven from the Presence. They clearly failed and many of them were cast into hell. Eventually, Aztar repented of what he had done and eventually ascended to heaven, confronting Michael and accepting whatever punishment the Presence would have. Eventually, Aztar transformed into God's vengeful spirit, the primal power known as the Spectre Force, meant to enact divine punishment. It was Aztar who punished Cain for killing Abel, and it was also Aztar who stripped Eclipso of his wrathful spirit state and trapped him within the heart of darkness. The Spectre's powers come from God and include manipulation of space and time, manipulation of matter, invulnerability, and limitless power. He can do almost anything he wishes to those he judges. One of his greatest weaknesses is that he needs a human host to be able to judge fairly and impartially, although he has been tricked by Psychopirate and Eclipso in the past. The Spectre is immune to most damage, although he can be harmed by powerful magic. Despite being considered the most powerful superhero in terms of his abilities, the Spectre does not harm innocent people. The Spectre is generally immune to mind control effects. During the Blackest Night storyline, Atrocitus attempted to enslave him with a Red Lantern power ring, but the Spectre removed it, stating that his rage comes from a higher power and cannot be controlled by a mortal. He is also near omnipotent, meaning he knows almost everything. The Spectre is one of the most powerful beings to ever exist in the DC universe, the embodiment of divine wrath and the ultimate instrument of justice for the Supreme Being. As a direct servant of God, Spectre is endowed with limitless power, allowing him to perform actions that are beyond the bounds of any law. From erasing a world to recreating the entirety of reality, all are within his reach. One of Spectre's most terrifying abilities is his ability to alter reality. With a single thought, he can warp all aspects of space, time, and matter, creating or uncreating anything he desires. As a godlike agent, the Spectre is virtually omnipotent, possessing access to the infinite knowledge of the universe, understanding every secret from the beginning to the end of existence. He is immortal, unaffected by the passage of time or conventional physical factors. The Spectre's profound knowledge encompasses arcane rituals, ancient legends, and dark magic. At crucial moments, an army of Spectres has confronted and fought on equal terms with Zero-Hour Parallax, who holds the power to restructure the entire timeline. The Spectre possesses a near-limitless source of power, allowing him to overwhelm almost any opponent, even great forces such as Darkseid. As the embodiment of divine vengeance, he is bound by the ultimate goal of justice, and when faced with a chaos monger like Darkseid, the Spectre will almost certainly throw all his power into battle, holding back nothing. The Spectre's power is always tied to the human nature of his host, and this sometimes creates invisible limits. Conflicts, psychological conflicts, or fluctuations in the host's will can become openings for Darkseid to exploit. The confrontation between the Spectre and Dr. Manhattan caused space and time to shake. The Spectre is the embodiment of divine wrath, but his power is always tied to the will of the Supreme Being and is bound by absolute moral codes. Every action the Spectre takes must follow a predetermined order of justice, and this very bond can become a limitation in a fight. Manhattan's energy and reality can be deployed at a level of total destruction. If he goes all out, Spectre will likely be at a disadvantage, because once his opponent is not bound by any limits, any advantage in divine power will hardly guarantee victory. Spectre, despite possessing near-limitless divine power, still depends on a host to maintain a stable state. Without a host, he can fall into a state of loss of control, even losing his mind. At level 2A, corresponding to the power of the High Multiverse Plus, Spectre's presence is enough to distort the structure of the infinite multiverse with his will alone. He is an infinite dimensional entity, having directly confronted Michael Demiurgos, a power of equal power, also possessing infinite dimensions. Spectre once carried out the tactic of banishing Dr. Fate across countless dimensions, an act that demonstrated the ultimate level of spatial manipulation. The Divine Realm, where Spectre once set foot, contained countless Platonic archetypal worlds. Among them, the new creation was a mythical land where the new gods resided. In fact, Spectre was one of the few responsible for the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. However, the one who always made sure that he never risked pushing the Earth to the brink of complete destruction was Michael. During the war, Spectre sided with Lucifer, but because he repented, his rage became real, but in return, he needed to be bound to a host. So Michael decided to bind him to a host to stabilize his power and never go beyond the limit. This is why his job is to be an evil being, to be judged, and he has been doing this for thousands of years. It is amazing that you can destroy anything, and this shows the terrible power of Spectre. The Anti-Monitor appears as a giant mass covered in a destructive energy armor. Each pulse of that energy spreads out into invisible shockwaves, distorting the light of the nebulae at the ends of the universe. On the opposite side, the Spectre steps forward in a gigantic form, its entire body emitting a brilliant emerald light. The Anti-Monitor looks at this appearance with contempt, considering all efforts to hinder it as futile. The Spectre speaks with a voice like thunder, affirming that justice will never yield to chaos. Without hesitation, the Anti-Monitor fires a giant antimatter cannon, tearing apart the cosmic night, creating widespread tears throughout space, causing distant gas clouds and star clusters to be blown out of place. The Spectre responds by transforming into a storm of divine energy, green streaks of light swirling around its body like rivers of sacred fire, surging and crashing straight at its opponent. As the two streams of power collided, the entire space between them exploded into a sea of brilliant light. The impact of the collision reverberated all the way to the source wall, causing the massive structure to shake. The Anti-Monitor began to expand in size, his massive body stretching to the point where it obscured the distant nebulae. The cosmic armor gradually transformed, reforming into the ultimate form of war, each crack releasing streams of antimatter that rolled like an endless waterfall of fire, creating shock waves that penetrated multiple dimensions. Spectre directly summoned the power of the Supreme Being. The halo that covered his body became brighter than a supernova. His every movement seemed to carry the weight of the entire will of the universe. Each step Spectre took lit up the cosmic night, forcing the surrounding energy streams to bend to his trajectory. But the Anti-Monitor was not overwhelmed by that light alone. He realized that the instability was spreading in the Spectre's power flow, which was weakening without a human host to maintain stability. Immediately, the Anti-Monitor focused all his firepower on this weak point. Massive columns of antimatter energy explode, and the Spectre responds by penetrating the Anti-Monitor's very consciousness, forcing him to confront the trillions of lives he has destroyed. But the Anti-Monitor is a being of nothingness. He has no guilt to be judged in the conventional sense. Destruction is his nature. The Anti-Monitor realizes he cannot destroy the Spectre with pure energy because the Spectre is a concept, a divine will. He shifts his focus, attempting to attack the Spectre's weak point, his bond with his human host, and the laws that bind him. He creates illusions of Jim Corrigan's failures, attempting to shake the host's will to weaken the Spectre. The Spectre realizes he cannot punish the Anti-Monitor because his nature is destruction. To defeat him, the Spectre cannot simply judge, but must exercise a higher power. The power to protect the creation of the presence. Realizing that the Spectre is having difficulty concentrating all of his power, the most powerful magicians alive in the multiverse, such as Dr. Fate, Zatanna, Shazam, join forces. They do not attack the Anti-Monitor, but use all of their magic to create a reality anchor, allowing the Spectre to focus his power without being affected by the chaos of space-time. With that help, the Spectre is no longer bound by the usual rules of judgment. He is given complete freedom by the presence to act. The Spectre concentrates all of the divine energy of the multiverse into a single point. He attacks not the Anti-Monitor's outer armor, but the very concept of the Anti-Monitor's existence. A pure white light engulfs the Anti-Monitor. The Anti-Monitor vanishes. The antimatter wave stops and slowly retreats, and the winner is the Spectre. I hope you enjoy this fight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That's it for today's video. Thanks a lot.